On this week's episode, we welcome the league to the world of television. Hence, you can see me introducing this episode. I will explain more soon. Melbourne struggle early with a big loss of personnel and lots of new names. There's controversy at Footscray mid-season. Something is off at Carlton.
Fitzroy
finally find a name that suits them.
Dick Reynolds
proves the doubters wrong.
Hawthorn
finally come good after many years of mediocrity.
All that and more
after the song.
It's the history of football we knows about, and we want to expand what we know. We'll become such intelligent gentry with every kick-to-kick show. Beginning in the time 1870s, right through to the modern day. Tune in for Timmy Coops and the Kazman
and Moz
to hear what they all have to say.
Welcome, everybody,
Yeah!
to the world of television. Hello out there in TV land.
We made it!
We made it. This is the Kick to Kick podcast, the Australian Rules Football History podcast. It takes a deep dive into the history of the league, the VFL. We've got no real qualifications to bring you this show other than a thirst for knowledge and a desire to relive some better days. My name is Tim, and you can see me. This is Charlie.
Hi, everyone!
This is Moz.
Hi, everybody.
Gaz.
Hello. I like football history.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
We're here to talk about the 1957 season, guys. And we're on camera. Why are we on camera?
Because we thought it was time that everyone got to see our beautiful faces.
That's true.
You said that we had to be.
1957 was the year that television arrived at the football. Games were finally broadcast. So we will televise this whole episode and put it up on YouTube and our website so you can see us in the flesh just like they had back in 1957.
Except we won't be talking in those great 1957 voices, you know?
Well, I won't.
We can.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we
you
could.
Well-loved television.
Yeah. Welcome.
So, hello listeners in Brazil and Switzerland as well. Hello to you. Let's get to some news and things from around the world, Charlie.
Yes, absolutely. So,
Hit songs. I'm just going to quickly.
please.
Jailhouse Rock by a little man named Elvis Presley.
Well, we talked a little bit about
yes.
Elvis
We
last
did.
year, didn't we, in the events?
And a shout out to the Banana Boat song by Halle Belafontaine and Buddy Holly. That'll be the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that one.
I love it.
Some
Harry
songs I know
Belafonte.
coming in.
Love him. He's one of the old man's favourites. So, events of 1957. Like, as we've talked about, I'm slowly just bringing it closer into... We're just talking about Australia now. I feel like otherwise there's just too much. And people, you know, we're alive.
Yes.
So, another great year, though. It's another great year. Lots of people were alive. And still are, funnily enough. Yeah. So, on the 19th of January, in some very sad news to start, the last edition of the Argus was published in Melbourne. There's been so much news from the Argus.
Yes.
The Trove.
Yeah, I
The
know.
Trove has ended, Tim.
Well, no, Trove is lots of different newspapers.
No,
not
I
just
know,
Argus, but yes, I
the
know.
Argus
I
is
know.
the main one that we've been sort of going
Yeah.
to,
The main
which is a
treasure.
killer. On the 15th of September, Hobart had its wettest day ever on record. So there we go.
It is a great year.
We're talking Australia here, guys.
Weather history could be another section, actually.
On the 3rd of October, we had the Australian National Airways, the ANA, merged with Ansett to become the Ansett as we knew it up until they closed their doors in the 90s.
Nothing but bright skies ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, for a little while.
They're flying
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
Pan Am and Ansett were just on top of the world.
Yeah.
They both fall apart. And also, Slim Dusty won his first gold record for... What song do you reckon?
Pub with no beer.
Of course. What else could it be? Would you like to hear some people who were born
I
this
would.
year?
Yes.
Absolutely. Oh, sorry, I didn't say. The Melbourne Cup, of course. Straight Draw won the Melbourne Cup this year. We had famous people born this year. We had Alan Fletcher on the 30th of March. Do we know who Alan Fletcher
He
is?
plays Dr. Carl in Neighbours.
Dr. Carl Kennedy. Absolutely. Very important one.
Yeah.
We had Peter Costello, the politician, on the 14th of August, and also Kevin Rudd this year on the 21st of September, the Prime Minister. Tony Abbott, another Prime Minister,
Yes.
was born just after him on the 4th of November. We also had Nick Cave, the musician, on the 22nd of September.
and Simon Madden, the footballer, on the 30th of December. A wrap up our year.
Excellent.
Thank you. Good ones.
Good. All right, just before we get stuck into some news, just thought I'd show us, the show notes we prepare. There's my thick show notes.
Yes, I keep looking off screen because my
Preparation.
computer's over here.
And we all have a,
Didn't even do
you
it.
can see that from that camera there. That's a list of the jumpers worn that season and the ladder. So shout out to footyjumpers.com and AFL Tables. Just
Thank you.
Yes.
two of our biggest references when we start researching.
And you can see the table in the flesh as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And all our decorations. So, guys, the biggest news story obviously was TV. TV coming to the football. There's some changes to ticketing in finals, but we'll discuss that later. But let's get stuck into this TV at the footy. So they had successful tests in 1956 at the Olympics and the grand final. We know the demonstration game at the Olympics was broadcast or filmed because there's footage of that. And here's the funny thing. Each channel had the rights to show the last quarter. They paid £50 each. And the plan for round one was Channel 7 was going to have South Melbourne St Kilda. Channel 9 was going to have Essendon Collingwood. The ABC had Carlton and Hawthorn. However, there was a spanner in the works. Because of a dispute between the ground management and the VFL, 2 of the 3 games couldn't be shown.
Oh.
Victoria Park, though, was not a member of the Ground Management Association, and they were able to film there. So therefore, on that first round,
Only one game was shown.
one game was shown, which was Essendon Collingwood,
Hey.
which we'll talk about the results of that game later. Yep. The second game
What
was...
a pity. What a pity that happened. It was so murky.
Yeah.
Just shown it.
Then 2 days later, because it was a split round because of the Easter Monday, they displayed the Geelong Footscray game, which was played in Cardinia, which was also not in the GMA. There was discussions that Geelong was too far away as well, that they wouldn't be able to get the beam all the way to Melbourne. But the Nine,
Really on top of the technology.
but the Nine Network were able to bounce the signal off Mount Dandenong, and the pitch was just as good as the first game.
Perfect.
Thus, football was on TV. I've got the rundown for kind of the TV shows as well for that first year. Would you like to hear it, guys?
Yeah,
Monday night, 7:50, Channel 9, The Football Survey.
great.
Tuesday, 9:40, Channel 7, Jack Dyer's Football Comment.
Oh.
Thursday, 10:25 p.m, Channel 7, John Coleman Teams for Saturday.
Wow.
And then 11 p.m. on Channel 9, Football Teams. So if you want to know who's playing, stay up till 11.
On the Tuesday? No,
On
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Friday, at 7:15, the Channel 7 Footy Show with Jack Dyer, Doug Elliott, and star players.
So that's the footy show.
Pretty much.
Yeah, great.
Saturday at 4 p.m, you got Channel 2 live telecast of final quarter with their commentators Ray McDonald and Ken Dakin. Channel 9 live telecast of the final quarter commentator was Ian Johnson. Channel 7's telecast was commentated by Tony Charlton.
Oh, yep, great.
Then at 7 o'clock on the Saturday you had a footy replay, and 7:30 you had the Palico Inquest. Stars of teams give their views on the day's matches, which was also simulcast on 3KZ. And then at 9 o'clock you had footy replay on Channel 2.
The inquest, it sounds pretty hectic.
Palico
Yeah.
Inquest, yes. So football on TV. So this brings about several changes as well. And obviously we know how much money
He's in it now.
TV brought to football
Yeah.
as well. The other thing is it became less tribal. So back before this, if you wanted to watch your team play, it had to kind of be in your local area.
Yeah, of
You lived in
course.
Essendon, you go to
Yes.
Essendon. You lived in Richmond, you go to Richmond. But now you can support anyone because you can watch them on TV.
Yeah.
So that tribalness we talk about
Also, like,
starts to become less and less.
even if it is your local area, you go for Melbourne, say, and you go to the MCG and you watch them, you can also then just watch other games of football. Like, I'm
Yeah.
assuming not many people are going to more than one game of footy in a weekend at this stage,
no,
really.
probably not. Yeah.
So it's just
Well, you
gives
can't because they're all at the same time.
Well, yeah, oh, exactly, yeah. So the only way you're keeping up is watching the score updates on,
Yeah,
those sorts of,
the code.
reading, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's footy
So-
globalisation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we know that it brings lots of money into the game as well, and changes things drastically, especially in
For
the 80s
better
and
or
90s.
worse.
Correct. And it made the game cleaner.
Yeah, of course it did.
So less biff.
Oh, yeah, got to be careful on TV.
Yeah. So TV on football. So our usual method is to work our way up the ladder. Moz, will you do the favours?
I sure will. Let's start from the bottom, where Geelong sat. They only won 5 games this season. They drew 1 and they lost 12. They finished on 88.2%.
Yes. So, coached by Red Chicky.
What?
Hold on, go.
Oh, no,
sorry.
okay, we're going to do it. You saw
Oh,
it.
yes, sorry.
There you go. Maybe you grab a kazoo. Surprise! Here we go. Okay, great.
I love it. So this year, coached by Red Chicky again, captained by Bob Davis again. Best and fairest winner was Bob Davis. And as we started last week, we're going to leave the leading goal kicker to the end.
To the end. Right, some debuts, Kaz.
Yeah.
Doug Long and Ray Harrop.
Fantastic.
Shout out also to Ken Mansell, whose reminiscence on the Boyles Football photo website really helped shape this description of what the Cats did. So round one, Footscray played the Cats in the game we talked about being televised.
Yep, beautiful.
And the Cats in the first half broke away to a 26-point lead. So the Doggies got to a 26-point lead, but the Cats fought back magnificently in that third quarter, kicking 8 goals 3 to 1 goal 4 in the third term, with Fred Wooler booting 5. The Age reported that Geelong's halftime move of Bruce Ferrari to centre half forward upset Witten his early composure, and added, Wooler led, marked and kicked superlatively.
Yay.
The last quarter of the game was televised live, the first televised Geelong game ever, and the viewers were treated to a nail-biting finish, the final siren sounding with both teams level on 77 points.
So the first televised game was a draw.
Second televised game.
Yeah.
Round two, North Melbourne got away to an early lead and were in front most of the day before being gradually pegged back by a gritty Geelong team, who eventually scraped over the line by 6 points. In a close finish, Norm Sharp was praised for his performance in the ruck, and Wooler continued his good form, kicking 6 goals 4. Round 5 against the Hawks, both Bobby Davis and Bernie Smith were brilliant as they held the Hawks to 1 goal 17 till three-quarter time. This allowed the Cats to cruise home to a 27-point win, having 3 fewer scoring shots. Round 6, they played at the Junction Oval, where we know Geelong don't play very well at the Junction Moz.
Oh.
They traditionally lose there against the Saints. There was an even first half, even first quarter. A 5-goal second quarter by the Cats set them up for a win. Geelong beating a rugged St Kilda by 10 points. But then what followed, Kaz, was 6 straight losses.
The bookies just licking their lips and then...
Yeah, and it's 1957. They won back-to-back flags in 51-52. So it's not that long ago.
No.
They were a champion team. Round 13 against North Melbourne was one of Geelong's best performances of the season. One of your favourites, Kaz, Peter Pianto, kicked 2 first-quarter goals, but North kept pace with the Cats and reduced the lead by 2 points.
There's a feisty one.
Yeah, but from then on, Fred Wooler produced a dominant display and kicked all 5 of Geelong's goals in the third quarter to stretch the lead to 32 points. The Cats home by 26 at the bell. Wooler finished with 6 goals 3. Nipper Trezise played his 150th game in round 15. An impressive performance by the Cats saw them far too good for a sluggish Carlton outfit and ran away to a 42-point win. Round 18 was the battle for the wooden spoon.
Who wanted it? Who wanted it more?
Well, we know Geelong won it because that's the team we're talking about now. Loser of the match, obviously, taking it, and because we're talking about Geelong, obviously, they lost that game. But it was the only time all season they finished on the bottom of the ladder.
Oh, you're kidding. So before that, they were just sitting...
Yeah, mid-table. And they kind of, because they had that run of 6 losses straight, they fell down.
But so it was just at the finish.
At the finish. Leading goal kicker?
Their leading goal kicker was Fred Wooler with 56.
There you go.
Who else could it be?
Yeah, indeed. Moving up.
All right, slightly up the ladder was Fitzroy. They had 6 wins, 12 losses, and 84.1%.
Something else.
The recorder. That just brings back nightmares, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
It's great. Thank you. Coached and captained by Bill Stephen this year. The best and fairest winner was Graham Campbell.
Yes. All right, debutantes were Bruno Zorzi,
Love it.
Alan Chipp, Brian Barclay, Phil Rauchow, Keith Wygard, and Ray Slocum.
Zorzi.
Zorzi, yeah, Bruno Zorzi.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
This season, Fitzroy finally renamed themselves the Lions.
Hey, here they are.
This mascot was first encountered by club treasurer Bill Jacobs and vice president Bert Walters. A report to members in 1957 said that the lion was worn by the English as a symbol of both war and sport.
Oh, yeah.
And the club adopted the symbol because, like the lion, the club had a never say die spirit.
That's Kevin Murray, bro. That's his influence.
Yeah. Bulldog. Why didn't they call themselves the Bulldogs if it was taken?
It was already taken.
Round one, they took on the back-to-back premiers, the Demons, and entered the game with a well-designed plan to crowd them on their small ground at Brunswick Street Oval. This move left Melbourne players fighting with each other for balls in the packs, while the Lions had a player on the outside ready to sweep in and take the ball and kick the goal. Lions won by 3 points.
Can you believe it?
And were hailed the glamour side of the competition. The final siren, their captain and coach Bill Stevens, was cheered from the ground by jubilant supporters.
Very young team, the Cubs here.
Yeah.
Those Lion Cubs, yeah.
Owen Abrams led them to a round 3 win, kicking 5 goals against St Kilda. Round 4, though, was a shocking 15-point loss to Richmond, with the Lions having 41 scoring shots to Richmond's 26. The Lions kicked 10 goals, 31.
That's outrageous.
Graham Campbell and Wally Clark kicking 3 goals, 12 between them for all their hard work. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
10-31.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no.
yeah. Round 5, they lost by 2 points at Victoria Park to Collingwood. Graham Gotch missing the winning goal from point blank range. Kevin Murray was best for the Lions, completely overshadowing his bigger opponent, Murray Wiedemann. Round 7, they went down to Cardinia Park and beat the Cats by 14, Ken Grimley kicking 6 and Campbell 5. But then they suffered 7 straight defeats, so that by round 14 they were dead last, a game and a half behind their nearest rival.
Which would have been Geelong.
Yeah, I suppose so. But they staged a late season revival, knocking off Richmond before beating Collingwood by a point in a wet and muddy game. Round 17, Kevin Murray was best on ground against Carlton. His well-judged marks and courageous ground play for 4 quarters turned many attacks. They couldn't get them over the line. Then in round 18, they took on the Cats, as we mentioned. Fitzroy played clever, brilliant football, throwing themselves into the game and streaking away with a 4-goal win. In the second quarter, they put on an 8-goal burst with Wally Clark dominating in the ruck. And thus, what seemed like an inevitable wooden spoon a few rounds ago was avoided. But post-season, Bill Stevens announced his intention to retire as both captain and coach.
Leaving space for another great man to take over next year, but we'll talk
Yes.
about that. Leading goal kicker was Owen Abrahams with 31.
31 goals, how many points?
100... No, I don't know.
All
right. Third last, or 10th, was South Melbourne. They had 7 wins, 11 losses, and 88.8%.
Do you want to keep going?
Nah.
You can have an aneurysm.
Catchy.
I love it. It's great. So, coached by Herbie Matthews this year, captained by Ron Clegg, best and fairest winner was Jim Taylor.
Feeling lightheaded.
So
I'm not surprised.
Ronnie Clegg taking over from Ian Gillett. Gillett. Yeah. Round 1 was a lakeside showdown against St Kilda.
Oi.
Now, interesting prelude to this as well. During the pre-season, the teams have been involved in a outside of comp, like a basketball comp between all the league teams. So in February, the police were called to stop fighting between St Kilda and South Melbourne at one of their games where punches were being thrown. Many players were cut and bleeding and were treated after the game. 3 policemen had to step in to break it up.
I'm bleeding on a basketball game.
Yeah.
I don't want to condone any violence,
Yeah.
but I am so glad that this means something.
Newcomer Colin Colquhoun was named at full-back, so your man Fred Goldsmith could go forward and kick some goals.
Do his thing.
Hey.
However, in this game, South got beaten, but by the continually improving Saints. I also forgot some debutants for you, Kaz. Brian Forkhead,
Oh,
and if you say it with like a Scottish accent,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
and Percy Appleyard,
I like it a lot.
yeah, Forkhead. Did you want to say something?
Nope. I pulled myself in. I reined it in.
Their first win came in round 3 at Lakeside Oval, defeating Richmond by 43 points, with champion fullback Fred Goldsmith kicking 9.
What?
Oh, good. I love it when he's let loose in the forward line.
Yeah,
He
you
He
do.
was a forward, wasn't he?
Well, he was. Yeah, he was forward to start with. Then they put him in the back for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where he was just a great man.
He was great anywhere, really.
He kicked 7 goals in the first half in that game. Yeah. The Sporting Globe headline read, "Swans kill Tigers," and Goldsmith was described as inspirational in this game. However, 6 more losses
Always
followed,
wanted to be described as inspirational.
in which Herb Matthews tried to throw things around. He dropped former captain Billy Gunn, and they sat at this stage at the bottom of the ladder. Their next win came in a thriller against Geelong, the Swans holding on for a 2-point victory. They had a sluggish start and controlled much of the game, leading by 3 goals with a minute to play. But the Cats rallied late, and it was only Swans backman Ian Gillett and Jack Hudson who held them at bay. 2-point win. They got in the roll then, beating Fitzroy by 13 points and then St Kilda by 10 points. They knocked off Richmond by 5 at Hunt Road Oval, so some really close wins.
Yeah.
Their best win of the season came in the penultimate round against the 2-time reigning premiers Melbourne, who had been tipped for an easy win. The Swans started well, keeping the D's goalless in the first quarter and withstanding their third quarter comeback in which they took the lead. South hit back in the final quarter, and then John Carlton kicked the goal after a brilliant mark. They trailed by just 2 points with time on. South desperately rushed the ball forward to the grandstand, and ruckman Don Kelter was standing there with the trainer who was fixing his boot. He brushed the trainer aside, took possession of the goal, and snapped the winning goal a split second before the siren rang.
What? Not wearing a boot?
I don't know what was happening with the boot, but yeah, inspirational stuff. They won their final game of the season over North by a 6-1 first quarter, setting up an easy 33-point win. Goldsmith kicking 5 in that. Did Goldsmith lead their goal kicking?
He certainly did. Of course he did. Unbelievable. He had 43 for the year.
There you go. So incredible as a fullback to do that.
To just come on and just do that, yeah. Incredible.
All right. St Kilda finished 9th this season. They had 8 wins, 10 losses, and 94.5%.
I love
Imagine
it.
everybody joining in right there.
I couldn't keep
I'll have
up.
a faster reaction next time.
So, coached by Alan Killigrew and captained by Keith Drynan, their best and fairest winner was Brian Gleeson in this year.
Not surprisingly.
No.
Some debutantes were Alan Morrow, Kaz. Can you tell us a bit about
Alan
him?
Morrow, a broad-shouldered, strong-legged, and big-hearted ruckman who was one of the league's best, despite being just only 6 feet tall. Attacked the ball regardless, and was in high regard. Now, so there was an illegal taping. There was an illegal offer made to them to get him across from Sale with his mate Bill Stevenson. It got found out because they were tape recorded. The deal that was made.
Really?
Stop
That's
it.
right. So we've got the world of television. We've got the world of tape.
He's wearing a wire.
Alan Morrow Gate.
Yeah.
And that's one of the significant stories about him.
Nice.
No.
So another debutant was Eric the Tank Guy.
Love it.
I know you're mad for a nickname, Kaz. Now, last season we talked about Alan Killigrew wanting to change the jumpers.
Yes.
This season he got his wish. With the jumpers, he added black sleeves, giving the team a more menacing look. And that's what we know today as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Round 1, they took on South Melbourne in the Lakeside Pennant, and things got off to a rocky start with champion full forward Bill Young concussed in the opening quarter. He was so bad he actually had to ask his opponent which way he was kicking. He ended up with 5 for the day, so it can't have been that bad. They won by 29. They are now 9-25.
That's what I was going to ask before. I was like, is it starting to balance out? The answer is no.
9-25.
9-25.
Then they rushed in those recruits you were talking about, Kaz, Alan Morrow and Bill Stevens, coming in against the Doggies, in which they lost that game. The next win was in round 4, a 17-point win over North Melbourne, with Ken Mulhull kicking 5 and Bill Stevenson impressing with his safe high marks, also kicking 4. Then round 6, the Tank made his debut, but was so nervous he had to be shoved down the race by his teammates. Geelong would win, but the Tank would become a great player for the Saints. Murray Wiedemann said of him,
He was the toughest player of my time. He always concentrated on the ball and never, to my knowledge, put it in the dirt. But once he set himself for the ball, he moved like a one-man blitz.
the Tank.
There he is.
In round 10, Brian McCarthy played like a man possessed, leading the Saints to a 16-point victory over Hawthorn, moving their coach Jack Hale to comment that a tsunami would not have stopped St Kilda that day. Following a round 11 loss, they lost those 2 players, Alan Morrow and Bill Stevenson, because of the illegal breaking of the Coulter law there, Kaz, that you talked about, the tape recording. Yeah. They then beat the Dogs in round 13 by 8, that day, Brian Gleeson, their ruckman, had a day out in the ruck. He also kicked 3 goals. They smashed Fitzroy by 43 points, won a thriller over North by 4. They went down to Geelong and won a very hard-fought match by 15 in a game that saw Eric the Tank Guy given a 4-week suspension for striking Noel Rayson. Late in their round 16 loss to Melbourne, a Saints player was knocked out and the trainers all ran in to help. And then they started remonstrating with the offending Demons player.
Oh, really?
Thus, an all-in brawl. 10 players and 5 trainers were involved in a melee.
Huh.
Nothing happened, though. Minutes before, the siren rang shortly after, and they kind of dispersed, and that was it.
Okay, it's over now. Good
Yeah,
game.
the final round, they took on Collingwood, and they were aspiring for finals. If they won this and luck went their way, they could make finals.
Oh, the Saints?
No, the Pies.
Oh, the Pies, yeah.
Saints
yeah.
took control in the third quarter, 6 goals to 1, finished off the Magpies, and ended the Saints season on a really high note.
Yeah.
This is quite a good season for them. They won by 40 that game. Neville Linney kicked 5 and Bill Young 4. Leading goal kicker, Charlie.
Bill Young again, with the exact same amount he won with last year, 56.
See, he kicked 56 and 56. If you only could have kicked 57 in 57.
Oh, yes. It would have been, wouldn't that be perfect? Yeah, that's what we would have loved.
North Melbourne finished 8th this season with 8 wins and 10 losses, like St Kilda, and they had 95.1%.
That's just completely wrong. So, join in the chorus. I'm thinking of a different one in my head. I'm not singing the right.
That's it. No,
Yeah, that's it.
Anyway.
Here we go. So,
You're going to say we should edit that out?
No.
never. Coached by Charlie Gordian. We've already just had that conversation. And captained by John Brady, their leading goal kicker. No,
Don't tell
their
us later.
best and fairest was Brian Martin. I
Great.
meant to say.
Debutant was Ivor Witness. Whitnish. Sorry.
Whitnish. Ivor Whitnish.
Witness.
They also had a new
all made up.
president, Alex Marr, taking over from Fons Tobin. Round 3.
What happened to the name Fons?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It'll be back.
Yeah. Round 3 was their first win, which was a hard-fought 9-point victory over Hawthorn at home. Goal kickers was this was well spread with Spencer and Schofield with 3 each, Doug Dale and Templar and Eastmuir with 2. In round 5, the Kangaroos beat Footscray by 2 points, despite only scoring 1 behind in the final quarter. Spencer kicked 4 as the Kangaroos kicked off a 4-game winning streak.
Hey.
This win was followed by a 15-point win over the Magpies, with the Kangaroos' defence showing their best form in years and Brian Martin beating Collingwood's rucks all on his own. Father of Nick Martin.
Ah, there you go.
Then a 4-point thriller over South, in which North escaped with a controversial win. South men cried in the last minute that Fred Goldsmith should have received the kick in the goal square.
I could have had 57.
Yeah, no, not Goldsmith. That's we're talking about Young.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And a 1-goal win over Fitzroy in that time.
Oh, we were talking
In
about
this
Young.
time, Jock Spencer again led the way with 16 goals across those 4 games. But they'd win just 3 more for the season, Charlie. In round 11,
A lot of teams just going off the boil.
lots of streaks of losses
Yeah.
at the moment, yeah.
At this end of the ladder, yeah.
Yeah, funnily enough,
Yeah.
It's weird how that happens. Teams down the bottom seem to lose a lot. Yeah.
Round 11 over Essendon, they had a win over Essendon by 9 points. Then had a 44-point win over Richmond the following week, in which Brian Martin was again dominant in the ruck. Their final term onslaught of 7 goals shook off the pesky Tigers. John Dugdale, the star at full forward, with 7 goals. And their final win was in round 16 against Footscray by 19 points. The wet Footscray ground could not curb the speed or brilliance of rover Alan Aylett, who kicked 3. North's big men held control in the air, and the Rovers, led by Aylett, continually broke clear. But this was a welcome improvement for the team from the previous season, who had dead last.
Yeah.
No
No
hope
good.
last season. So, leading goal kicker,
Leading goal kicker, who do you reckon? Was it Spencer or was it Dugdale?
Spencer.
No. It's Dugdale.
Dugdale.
With 37, so not that many.
Okay.
Ah,
Yeah, not many.
nice.
Not many.
Good for the team, but nah. All right, Richmond finished 7th. They had 9 wins, 9 losses. Oh, they're ready. They're poised. 9 wins, 9 losses, and 93.9% go.
Take it away.
Had to do it. Sorry. So, coached by Alan McDonald, captained by Des Rowe again this year. Best and fairest winner, Roy Wright.
Nice. Kaz, we've got a few debutants here that are quite worth talking about. One of them, Brian Pilcher, but the other are Neville Crowe and Roger Dean. Tell us.
I don't want to poo-poo Richmond or say anything suspicious or anything, but these two, that wasn't the right word, but these two players were found guilty of something we do not like in football, like playing free kicks.
Stages.
So staging. Now I'm going to read this verbatim because this is good. Okay, I hope I do it justice. Blessed with a good spring and mobility, this is Neville Crowe. He was one of the unluckiest footballers in league history. Like, even unluckier than Jeff White being kicked.
What about Troubles? Unluckier than Troubles.
Seriously. Crowe missed the 1967 Premiership triumph because of suspension. He was found guilty of striking Carlton's John Nichols in the second semi-final, something which Nichols admitted years later was a staged performance purely to earn a free kick.
Oh, so John Nichols
staged. It
staged.
was the other guy.
Yeah, okay.
So they're involved in something.
He was involved in
This
staging.
is not good. It affects everybody.
Yeah.
It casts
That's it.
suspicion across
Think about the victim.
He's a victim of
The
staging.
victims of
Victims of
staging.
staging are even blamed
The
for
real
it.
problem.
He should have spoken up about it. It was the first suspension in Crowe's 10-year decorated career, which ended on a truly sad note. The crunch moment came at the tribunal when Nichols was asked whether the fact that he didn't recall the incident could have been because of a blow he suffered. Nichols said nothing to discard the suggestion that Crowe's fate was sealed. To add insult to injury, Crowe had to miss a trip to the US and Ireland a few weeks later when he suffered internal bleeding in the leg. And, we also have
Which
here-
I'm assuming didn't have anything to do with the staging. But
But here we have Roger Dean, a tough and tremendously determined utility. Dean made life very difficult for resting Rovers when he played in the back pocket. He worked his way into the senior side of the forward, became the finest defenders in the game of the era. He made it very hard for anyone resting, and was always a master of playing for free kicks, especially close to goal. So that's a redeeming factor there. It was always
For you.
yeah.
So, Charlie, as you said, they appointed former player Alan McDonald as
Yes.
coach. Apparently, former coach Max Oppie didn't even know he'd lost the job until the day after McDonald had been appointed.
Oppie was only there for the 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if he knew that, though.
No, he didn't know he was only going to be there
Yes,
for 1
yeah,
year.
yeah.
But
So
you'd think you're going to get more than a single
so
year.
he
yeah.
found out that he was replaced like the day after his replacement was appointed.
So he rocked up and
that's
someone else
yuck.
had the whistle.
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
like, isn't that mine? No.
Yeah.
Awkward.
They had success straight up, though, with a 23-point win over North in a high-scoring game with Bob Dummett kicking 7 and Ray Alsop with 4. In round 4, Richmond defeated Fitzroy by 15 points in that game where they had 15 less scoring shots.
Oh, yeah.
So the final score in that was 16-10, 106 to 10 goals, 31-91.
That's outrageous.
Which remains the greatest deficit in scoring shots by a winning side, although it was equalled in 1977.
Okay.
So we'll hear about that next year. Round 7 was a big 2-point win over two-time reigning premiers Melbourne. Scores were level at both quarter-time and half-time. The Demons then kicked 0 goals, 8 in the third quarter, to trail the Tigers by a goal, before Richmond finally clicked into gear and kicked 2 goals. It delivered on a plan set by coach Alan McDonald, who'd set out to blanket Tunbridge and Fenton Smith and Lord. I believe the Demons' ruck brigade.
Yes, well, Fenton and Tunbridge Smith had taken over from Cordner
Yep.
that year, so they were younger guys. Yeah, so there you go.
So the Demons' score of 6 goals, 14 was its lowest score any side had kicked against the Tigers since 1948.
Hey, okay.
So no, the Demons hadn't scored much.
No, I know, that's what
Okay,
I'm
you
saying.
sound-
Interesting.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I didn't mean to be positive about
Okay,
it.
yeah.
It was just interesting.
Hey.
I like facts,
Okay.
is
So
what
we-
I'm
I
saying.
get worked on.
Yeah.
Hey,
Sorry.
this win kicked off 5 in a row. 5 in a row wins, not losses. The following week, they had a 2-point win over St Kilda. Tom Simpson and Stan Morecrom were huge in this win for the Tigers. They ran over the Pies at Vic Park. Final frantic minutes of the game to win by 7. Ray Alsop kicked 6, including 3 in the last quarter. They had convincing wins over Essendon and Geelong to be just out of the 4 on percentage. But then they only won 2 of their remaining 7 games. These were against Hawthorn by 3 points and Carlton by 4 goals. The finish of 7th was disappointing, but it was a big improvement on last season, and they beat all 4 finals-bound teams and both last year's grand finalists.
So that's really interesting, isn't it? Very Mercurial, you would
Yeah, so
say.
you beat
almost.
the teams.
good word.
You beat
Thank
the
you.
teams you're not supposed to beat, and lose to the
And
teams
lose
you're
the-
supposed to beat.
Yeah. Very strange.
Yes.
So lead goal kicker was Bob Dummett with 41. Yes, again.
Bob Dummett. Good.
All right, Footscray, they also had 9 wins. They had 1 draw, 8 losses, and 99.1%.
I really like that version. It's very sad.
It's very French.
Yeah, isn't it?
On a gondola.
Yeah. So, coached by Charlie Sutton, captained by Harvey Stevens. Best and fairest winner was Ted Whitten.
Yes.
But there's more to that story.
There is. Debutant was John Quarrell. So let's hope he doesn't argue with the umpires.
Hey.
Now, we talked about their opening round match. They had that draw with the Cats, with the Doggies kicking 6 more behind, so they probably should have won that game.
Yeah.
Their first win came in round 2 by 32 points over the Saints. Then with a win over Carlton in round 3, they remained the only undefeated team in the league. But then the Mighty Bombers brought them back to earth in round 4. They had a thumping loss to them. Then one of our favourites, old Cardboard Box.
Yes.
They're actually dropped. They were in patchy... Or actually, not dropped, but they were in really patchy form. They just...
Inconsistent.
Both Box and Stevens.
Oh, sorry, okay.
Sorry, I just got excited talking about Cardboard Box.
Yeah.
Distracting.
He folded. Sorry.
Herb Henderson and Stockman were dropped, but they regained some. The team got the message from those two losses. Round 6 saw Jack Collins starring at full forward. He kicked 7 goals to lead his team to a 7-goal victory
Yep.
over the Tigers. In round 12, Captain Harvey Stephen was out of form, so he was told he needed to return via the reserves.
Hey.
But the Doggies scraped in with a 1-point win over the Cats at home to cap off a fairly successful run that had them winning 5 of their past 7 games, sitting 3rd on the ladder.
Jeez, it doesn't happen often that the captain's got to come back through the...
Yeah, I know.
That's a...
Yeah.
It's a bit of a
But-
whack, isn't it?
Following that glorious scraping home victory, 1-point win over the Cats, the football world was rocked when the club committee sensationally sacked their coach.
Why?
There was some criticism that he was training the players too hard and was reluctant to move players around when needed, Kaz. The official reason was that Sutton's business obligations were getting in the way. He was told via phone of his fate, and Sutton said this.
I felt very disappointed and hurt because you put in a lot of hard work. The boys are going rather well, and I was happy they were keeping their feet on the ground. You don't push too soon.
We're going well.
Up there on the
Yeah.
ladder.
Yeah.
In the meantime, 23-year-old Ted Whitten was approached to be the new coach, which was surprising because he wasn't even captain.
No, yeah, exactly.
But Ted didn't accept until he had Sutton's blessing. So he went around to Charlie Sutton's house, and Sutton offered to give him some guidance as much as he could. So Ted accepted. This also saw Harvey Stevens have to stand down as captain, so Ted could be captain coach. Ted Whitten told the media,
The news was a very big shock to me, but I'm very proud and happy to be given the job of leading Footscray. My heart's always been in the Footscray club, and I'll give everything to the position. Charlie Sutton taught me all I know about football, and I regard it as an honour to succeed such a great leader.
They must have been confident in his ability.
23.
Yeah.
but there's got to be more to
Not
that
affecting
story
his
as
play.
well.
It does have to be
Seems
more to that
very
story.
peculiar.
They're finishing, they're 3rd on the ladder. Like, things aren't going that bad.
And the idea of sacking someone because they think they're training the players too hard just doesn't seem...
They won a flag like 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, exactly. Very strange.
His first match in charge was against St Kilda. Sutton came into the rooms pre-game, which he wasn't supposed to, and wished him luck. But they lost. The Saints beat them.
It's very it's very big of Charlie Sutton to do that. I reckon.
Yeah. Kind of sticking it up the committee's ass. And,
Yeah. Stuff, yeah.
Doggies actually lost 4 of their last 6 and missed finals.
Well,
Yeah. And there was a bit more fallout as well, with several players leaving. Apparently, old Cardboard didn't get along with Ted Whitten, so he left, and Herb Henderson as well. So, a bit of change. New coach, new blood.
you reckon it would get up a few of the older guys' noses if a 23-year-old's taken over and starts giving you orders?
Yeah.
As well?
Yeah.
So Cardboard packed up and shipped.
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Thank you. Lead goal kicker, Jack Collins with 74.
Yeah, I think he led the season,
Yeah,
didn't he?
I was going to say it's a good number.
Nice.
Okay.
Moving up.
Just out of the finals landed Collingwood. They
no.
also had 9 wins. Oh, darn it. They had 9 wins, 1 draw, 8 losses, and 101.8%.
Colin, we get the recorder.
They deserve the recorder.
I actually like the recorder.
They
can't do
deserve
it.
the recorder.
That actually
it
sounded
isn't much
nice.
maligned.
Yeah.
In the hands of a musical genius.
Yeah,
I'll
better
tell
than
you
the
what.
grade 3s.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
One lesson.
coach this year by Footscray, captained by Bill Toomey, best and fairest winner was Murray Wiedemann.
Yeah, big weed. Round 1, the Pies suffered an unusual home thumping at the hands of the Bombers.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the game that was televised.
I just felt.
This is the first game televised.
I'll talk about it when I talk about the Bombers because it's really their victory.
Yeah.
Rather than Collingwood's
Save it.
loss.
Yeah. Then a round 2 grand final rematch saw them fail against the Demons again. One casualty in this match was Collingwood defender Lloyd Williams, who broke his leg really badly. And there was a real stuff-up with the stretcher where he was lying there for 10 minutes because they couldn't find the stretcher.
Stop it.
So they ended up having to get the rub-down table and carry him off upside down. They turned the rub-down table upside down
and put him
carry
on it.
off, yeah. He would never play football again. Yeah.
It's Coleman-esque.
Round 3 was their first win, a 10-point victory over Geelong. They repeated this form the next week against South Melbourne, and there's actually some footage, so let's have a quick look at some of the footage from this.
That's Tuck coming through for Collingwood, taking it over the centre line, down to centre half forward. Wiedemann is the one who's knocked the mark at centre half forward. Goes up into the goal square. That's Taylor of South Melbourne. Hudson in possession for South Melbourne. And now it is Bergen of Collingwood. That is Brewer of Collingwood. He has the ball about 2 yards in from the behind post. McGowan of South Melbourne, 40 yards out. Kingston of Collingwood leading Goldsmith in the run in the forward pocket. Goldsmith has it 10 yards, 15 yards out. And that goal to Goldsmith is South Melbourne's 9th. Gun in possession for South Melbourne, taking it over the half-forward line. Right up into the goal square now. Clegg rising. Here's Goldsmith in possession in the goal square into the behind post now. And Goldsmith put it through. Norman in possession now, centre-half back, goes up towards the forward line. Taylor of South Melbourne in possession about 30 yards out from the Collingwood forward goal. Now the ball to centre-half forward for South Melbourne. It's gone down towards the full forward line. Clegg rises for the mark. Clegg takes the mark and he's got it 30 yards out from goal, directly in front of goal. And that's full through for full point. In comes Bill Toomey. He's taking it out towards the centre wing position. Now it's on a south half forward line. That's Skilton taking it down to a full forward pocket. And it's Goldsmith takes the mark. He misses the mark. Kingston has possession of forward pocket. Down towards the half forward line. Skilton has it at centre half forward. And now it's Grieve of Collingwood. Skilton again at centre half forward, but the umpire's whistle's gone. The umpire's whistle's gone. They've got to come back to centre half forward. And it's all on down there. The players in the centre of it. Gambling of Collingwood just wide of the centre half back. They're in the time on period. That's Skilton of South Melbourne at centre half back. 14.993 to 11.17.83. 10 points Collingwood's way, and it's at centre half forward for South Melbourne. And that player is Delante.
Ian Brewer kicked 4 goals for the Pies in that game as well. This season was really punctuated with some close wins, such as their 2-point win over Fitzroy, but then they could never really get a run on. They'd fall to other teams they'd normally beat, like North Melbourne, and they lost to Essendon twice. In round 10, they kicked 6 goals straight in the second quarter to eradicate the Blues, winning by 37 points, Ken Smale kicking 6. Come round 13, they took on the D's again and produced another classic bout, although the last few haven't really been classics because the D's have just smashed them.
Yeah. It's just a great rivalry at this stage, though. There's just so many games that Melbourne are winning, which I really like. Yeah.
And the D's have really primed themselves. The Pies have really primed themselves, as I think most teams would when they're taking on the Demons. The D's got out to an early lead, but the Pies came back at them. 3 points the difference at three-quarter time. And in the last quarter, the Demons bombarded the goals but couldn't get one through. The Pies' defence stood up tall, and when the bell rang, the score read a draw.
Hey.
So better than a loss.
Better than a loss, yeah, absolutely.
They again beat Geelong and South to stay in touch with the top 4, but a 1-point loss to Fitzroy was costly. In the last round, they needed a miracle. They had to beat St Kilda and hope Carlton knocked off Essendon significantly to make finals.
If you're relying on someone else to make finals, you're not in great shape.
But the Saints easily had their measure, and their season was over. No finals for you, Collingwood.
So 2 grand finals in a row and then you miss finals.
Yeah.
Tough. It's tough. Yeah. It's a tough beat. League goal kicker for them this year was Ian Brewer with only 26 though. Very
So they got no forward target, do they?
Never, not since the curse of Ron Todd.
No.
It'll get you.
Every time.
Every time.
Finalists. Here we go. Okay, Carlton. Are you ready? Ready for the next one, Kaz? I'll talk slowly. Carlton finished with 11 wins, 7 losses, and a percentage of 99.5.
That's enough. We don't. Carlton aren't special. They don't get any extra.
So this year, coached by Jim Francis and captained by Ken Hands, again, their best and fairest winner was Bruce Comden.
A big debutant as well, Kaz. John Nichols.
So apparently, I don't know. Wrightington is probably the best ruckman of all time. I like a lot of good ruckmans.
I disagree.
So, Perce Bentley had said, I hope we don't take this little fat bugger. The little fat bugger turned out to be possibly the greatest ruckman of all time.
Little fat bugger.
Not only was he extremely talented in his own right, he inspired fear in his opponents and brought every other player around him into the game with tree trunk legs, always manoeuvred him into the best position, and he was impossible to shift. The piercing cold blue eyes gave the most frightening stare.
That's quite
I haven't heard that about
no. They're usually talking about their legs, not their eyes. It's very strange. And all their hands.
Stamping authority on every game. Nichols' clashes with Polly Farmer were legendary, and Perce Bentley said of him also. He used to lean on Farmer's left side to restrict his handball and use the same tactics for hit-outs. Read up on John Nichols. Great player.
And apparently they had to take his brother when they drafted him. It was like a 2-player deal. So his brother Don Nichols, Don and John, made his debut the year before.
Yeah, and they weren't sure about
either of them.
Yeah,
but that's that. Like it's like, well, look, you take Don, you have to take him as well.
Yeah,
the fat little,
that happens
fat little bugger as well. That's how Travis Cloak got to the Magpies, wasn't it?
Yeah. So they wanted Don and they just got John.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought okay.
Yeah. Not like the Cloaks were like, if you want Travis, you have to take Jason and you have to take Cameron.
I've had some similar hopes for Oscar McDonald as well.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like anyway.
I like him.
So there. Yeah.
So there.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, have I not?
Oh no, it's me.
Yeah, it's you.
The Hawks, round 1.
Oh no, hang on.
The episode
Have you done the cap? Yes.
No.
Coach? Oh.
I thought I did. Oh, sorry, I'm behind.
Okay.
Because we didn't do the leading goal kicker.
Hey Charlie.
Yes.
Yes, we did. We did because he kicked 27. You're like, for Collingwood. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking about Carlton, not Hawthorn.
So Carlton's coach and captain. We done that.
Didn't I do that? Yeah, I did.
Great. Round 1. The Hawks jumped the Blues 7 goals to 1 in the first quarter in what was basically the margin at the end of the game. And this is quite an upset. Hawks usually don't win these kind of games. So Carlton lost round 1, but this is the game that John Nichols made his debut in. Round 2 saw a brilliant first half game of football against South Melbourne, which set up a good win. Don Nichols, John's brother, dominated in the centre before half-time, and Rovers Beasy and Sullivan were in top form. Crow and Beasy scored 7 of the first 8 goals, actually. Carlton benefited by Ken Hand's leadership when the Blues' big men started to tire in the second half. Round 5, the game against Richmond was won in the first quarter when the Blues, kicking against the wind, managed to finish the quarter all square with the visitors. The Blues then took advantage of that win, kicking 7 goals 9 to 2-2 in the second quarter to be 6 goals up at half-time and set up an eventual 4-goal win.
Huge.
The game actually ended in an interesting way when a team of youngsters clambered onto the roof of the press box and rang the bell with a stick. But old field umpire Harry Beitzel was not easily deceived.
No, Harry.
He blew his whistle to halt play. He ran to the fence to double check with the timekeepers, who said, "No, keep playing." He scampered back, and they played a little bit more of the game.
They don't train for that at umpire training school.
No.
Can't play that.
Meanwhile,
Young men scampering on a roof.
yeah, the siren sounded 2 minutes later, but the unofficial timekeepers had already scuttered off, not to be caught. Round 7, the Blues had a strong win over Essendon. They're accurate 6 goals at quarter time, setting up a 27-point win. In this match, the Age made comments that John James played another spectacular match at half-back. His marking was amazing at times, and his general ground play and faultless judgment enabled him to halt Essendon's advances repeatedly. He's a name that we'll hear a bit more about, isn't he, Moz? John James.
Yeah.
Between round 11 and 14, they won 4 on the trot, beating St Kilda, the Hawks, South and the Dogs. Then, on the eve of their final match against Essendon, the club dropped captain Ken Hands.
What?
Oh, boy.
Handsy.
They named him,
Maybe
but they
that's
privately
why.
told him he wouldn't play. They thought they'd rest him coming into finals.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't a performance thing.
I don't think so. He showed up at the game but didn't bring any gear with him because he knew he wasn't playing. And the Bombers smashed them in this game. The consolation for Carlton was that Collingwood had lost, so they were definitely in finals.
Well, was there any... Oh, yeah, no. I was going to say, they couldn't have missed finals, no matter what. I'm
Okay.
just looking at the win-losses here. Because
Yeah.
they were basically 2 games ahead of Collingwood. But they could have got a double chance
Yeah.
if they'd won.
Yep.
So it seems like a strange choice.
Yep.
A match winner, a tough finals player.
Ken Hands?
Yeah.
So the fact that the Bombers smashed them and Hands hadn't played and kind of should have played, the media absolutely lambasted Hands for not playing. He was livid at Francis for having dropped
for
him,
resting him, yeah.
and thus began a feud between these former friends that would boil on.
How strange.
Leading goal kicker.
The leading goal kicker for the Blues was Gerald Burke with 34.
Gerald Burke, we haven't even heard that name, have we?
Well, 34 goals. I mean, it's
No, but
it's
Gerald
all right.
Burke,
No, I know. We haven't heard it before. Yeah.
Burkey, Gerald. Moving up.
All right.
Not having the Argus, is that affecting anything? We just heard about the age there. Not having the Argus, are we missing it?
I'm
Any
missing it,
particular reason? I mean, just sentiment.
Yeah. Good stories in the Argus.
Now we've... Right, Hawthorn.
Hawthorn finished third, also on 11 wins and 7 losses.
What?
But a slightly higher percentage of 116.7 compared to Carlton.
Hawthorn in the
Hawthorn, yeah, third.
We're a happy team at Hawthorn. We're a mighty fighting horse.
Do you think Hawthorn have just been waiting all this time for TV?
Yes.
Like, no one can see us being bad.
We're not
We can be
interested.
we can be as terrible as we want.
And now we'll figure it out.
And yeah, now
Brown
we'll
and
figure
yellow
it out.
doesn't come up in black and white.
No.
Hey, true.
Ah.
So, coached by Jack Hale and captained by John Kennedy, their best and fairest was Alf Hughes.
Why did no one, when Hawthorn were going through their three-peat, why did no one after the first or second premiership go, let's just, no more TV?
And see what happened.
Yeah, we know Hawthorn are no good if there's no TV. That'll stop them.
Imagine. Imagine the AFL being like, look, we're just not going to televise this a year.
Yeah. All right, some debutants were Terry Ingersoll and Cyril Collard. In round 1, the Hawks caused something of an upset, as we said, knocking off Carlton at Princess Park by 36 points, 15-12, 102 to 10-6, 66. Only the second time the club had ever beaten Carlton at this venue in 33 years.
I'm imagining they're going to be breaking a lot of records over the next couple of years.
Ingersoll kicked 5 on debut as well,
Hey!
taking home the Rising Star nomination for round 1 in 1957.
Good on him.
Round 2, the Hawks kicked appallingly, 9 goals, 22. But still beat Richmond by those 22 points at Glenferrie. This put the Hawks on top of the ladder for only the second time ever and the first time in 17 years.
Oh!
Well, surely the only other time would have been after round 1
Yeah, I think
as
so.
well. Yeah.
And we're feeling relieved now. They're here. They're
No.
No.
Not feeling great about it.
They then lost the next week to 10th place Kangaroos by 9. But in round 4, they claimed their biggest scalp yet in a slugging, low-scoring affair. They beat the reigning premiers Melbourne by 18 points at Glenferrie to reclaim top spot.
Wow, they're right there.
Round 6, they played some great footy to knock off top-placed Essendon at Windy Hill by 8 points, after kicking only 4 goals in the first 3 quarters as well. They kicked 7 goals to 2 in the last quarter that come from behind in Winmos. They had a comfortable win over the Doggies the following week in round 7, and it had the Hawks back on top, where they'd stay for 3 weeks.
So they've spent 5 weeks on top of the ladder.
Who knows what's going on there?
What?
With wins over South
happy
by
about it.
21 points and Fitzroy by 48. However, then followed 4 successive losses, put them clear on... Yeah. In round 11, they took on the Magpies. A capacity crowd of 27,000 people jammed into the that little sardine tin there that you go past on the train, Kaz.
That's right.
Glen Ferry. And the Hawks had a problem leading up to the first bounce. They couldn't find their coach. Jack Hale was nowhere to be found. News came through that he had been in a motor accident on his way to the game and couldn't make it in time. So John Kennedy had to step in as coach.
Hey.
For the first 3 quarters, the game was in the balance. Collingwood led by 4 points at the final break. And as players prepared for a tough final quarter, who should waltz in the door or onto the ground? Jack Hale finally made it to the ground for the last quarter. But his presence didn't lift the team at all. They lost by 19 points. But interesting first game coached by John Kennedy, who would go on to be an absolute legend
Yes,
of the
the
game.
coach. Yeah, absolutely.
Things looked a bit dire at this stage. The side was 6th after round 13, but with 5 rounds to play, the Hawks won 4 and lost their 5th by only 2 points. The wins including beating top 2 teams Melbourne at the MCG and Essendon at the Glen Ferry ground. Graham Arthur, 3 weeks out from finals, was nursing a bit of a hamstring injury he sustained in the match against Carlton in round 12. He missed 4 weeks, but was back for round 16. But playing a bit within himself, Hale picked him up on it at training before the round 18 game and really put the acid on him, Charlie. Told his young star to pick up his act, accusing him of being timid and bludging.
Ooh.
Arthur proceeded to train the house down, and Hale wryly smiled and told him, "Now we play football." The footy they played, however, was terrible. They lost to the Dogs in round 7, so they had a chance for a double. They could have won. They had a double chance, Moz.
Yeah, wow, and they'd already beaten the
Yeah.
other great teams. They could have won.
Yeah.
Imagine.
They lost to a Footscray side that was 7th on the ladder by 2 points after being up by 31 points at 3-quarter time. Doggies kicked 5 goals 4-1 behind in the final quarter of the home and away season to knock the Hawks off the double chance, dropping them from 2nd to 3rd. On a positive note, the percentage at the end of round 18, 116.7, was easily the best ever to that point, and only the second time they'd ever had a percentage over 100.
I was going to say.
Wow.
And the first time would have been the year before, I'm imagining.
Possibly, yeah. They had 103.88 in 1943.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They were so close. They could have won it as well.
Yep,
Unbelievable.
Crozo.
So, lead goal kicker this year was Terry Ingersoll with 33.
Great.
Okay. Finishing not first but second was Essendon. Also with 11 wins, 7 losses, and 118.3%. Ooh,
Imagine
nice.
having to play the whole song.
Yeah, is it exhausting?
Terrible times.
You need a bag.
That's called the bagpipes.
So, yeah.
You do. You need the bag part of the pipe.
Coached by
I don't have to play the right notes.
coached by the King, Dick Reynolds, again. Captained by Bill Hutchison,
Thanks
the
for
other
the
King,
support.
the Prince, we'll call him. And their best and fairest winner this year was Reg Burgess. Well, sorry.
Who was that best?
The best and thinnest player. No, I don't know.
All right, some debutantes. We've got Brian Donahue, Frank Driscoll, and John Britt.
John Britt, I have not got anything on John Britt. I'm sorry. I couldn't find him.
All right.
Sorry, John Britt.
Legend of the Bombers. And we'll talk more about him
Yes.
in next episodes. And if you're
His
gonna-
name starts with a B.
bet if he was a Melbourne player, you
JB.
would have something. You look him up.
It's another Britt.
Look him up.
I'm trying already.
Now, you said Dick Reynolds was coach again. He actually had to apply for his job. We talked about this last episode.
Yes.
In pre-season, he applied for his job, and he was again appointed. So obviously the best man for the job. Alex Epps again appealed to the ANFC, but was knocked back.
Oh, to leave. Yeah.
No, to play because the WA had blocked his transfer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yep. And he was knocked back again.
Yes, 2 years in a row.
Bill Brittingham.
No, he retired.
Essendon.
Brit.
That's it.
John.
Cornelius Con Britt from Collingwood.
Yes,
Arthur
Cornelius Britt.
Melbourne and St Kilda. Gerald Britt from North.
None of these Brits.
So many Brits.
Yeah, I know, right? And then there's Britain, and then Britta.
You keep looking. Round 1. The Bombers on a momentous day took on Collingwood at Victoria Park in the very first televised match ever.
Walter Bristow?
And although trailing by 2 points at three-quarter time, they treated the TV audience to a goal fest in the final quarter. The Bombers kicking 6-1 to run out winners, the very first televised victors ever.
There we go.
Yep. Good.
Take it.
Yep. Stan Booth kicked 5, Frank Driscoll with 4. It was the Bombers' first win at Vic Park since 1948.
Oh, wow.
They beat the Fitzroy Lions before the Demons put them in their place with a 45-point drubbing. Following this, the Bombers were labelled... So the Demons did beat the Bombers. I will point this out because...
Yes.
Following this game, the Bombers were labelled the Gliders by Pete Bye in the Sporting Globe. They're just gliding along.
Oh.
And they didn't like this nickname. They beat Fitzroy... I said this... They had twin 7-goal wins over Footscray and South to put them on top of the ladder. In the win over South, Fred Gallagher kicked 6 of the 9 goals in the last quarter because they had a massive last quarter.
Yeah, so he kicked 6 goals in the last.
Fred Gallagher kicked 6 out of 9 of the team's last quarter goals to lead the Dogs to victory. A performance labelled as one of the best since John Coleman's days.
See.
Which
weren't that long ago, really.
No, not really. Same decade. Against Geelong in round 8, Fred Gallagher then went even better, kicked 12.
For the game.
In
Amazing.
another strong
Love
win.
it. Not gliding anymore.
Well, look, I'll get back to that as well. They dropped games to teams such as North, Hawthorn and Richmond, but had one eye on the Demons again in round 14, those pesky bloody Demons. This game was a classic. The Bombers were in front much of the day, but the Melbourne Demons just kind of kept up with them.
Yes, they did.
In the desperate closing stages of the game, with the Bombers clutching to a 5-point lead, the ball was deep in the Demons' attack.
Couldn't get it out.
When heroic rover Stan Booth was accused of deliberately dropping the ball out of bounds.
He absolutely did. I saw it.
The resultant free kick saw the Demons slot a miracle goal and ultimately win the game by 2 points. Gallagher did have a chance in the dying seconds to snatch the lead back, but he missed, and Bombers fans were furious.
It was Webby, I think. Webby from the boundary. We'll talk about it later.
Yes,
It's going to be great, though.
The Bombers won 2 of their next 3 with their final match against Carlton to decide their position in the 4. In this game, they dominated all day with 11 scoring shots to 2 in the opening quarter, going on to win by 61. Bob Lewis with 5, John Britt with 4. The Bombers snatched the double chance because Hawthorn had lost. I have a version of a song the Bombers sung this season.
See, the Gliders glide.
Don't sing it in such a...
Well, if they're gliders, that's exactly what you do.
I'm not going to get the book.
Hey.
Yeah.
Didn't bring.
That's all right.
John Britt. Essendon legend no one will ever forget. Right at the John, if you're watching, please
Here it
raise
is.
it.
There it is.
Con,
Here's the song.
Con Britt.
Shut up, Con. Shut up.
Con.
There's a premiership next year, not far away, and our boys are after it out Essendon way. Good night, Bulldogs, Blues and Demons when we play, for we are the same old Essendon today.
Oh, so they're using the same old?
Where to the fore, as in the days of old, we will win that premiership as sure as gold. And a flag next May we're going to unfold, for we are the same old Essendon of old.
So, okay. So still no Bombers?
Well, we're the Bombers, but...
Yeah, but
Not in that
they're not
song,
really
no.
talking about it.
Nah, we're not.
They really bomb when it comes to
Yeah.
Alright.
So,
Leading goal kicker?
leading goal kicker this year was Fred Gallagher with 34. You ready?
Here we go.
You do. Kaz.
70.
Oh, yes. Hi, Tim.
Oh,
hey, we're on.
Hey, from Kick to Kick here.
Yes,
Just
good
a
to
quick footnote to our section on Essendon that we've recorded. I'd like to offer you an apology. I know I gave you a bit of a hard time about not finding out about John Britt.
Yeah.
I went home and looked him up, and it
thanks for saying
appears
that.
it's John Burt. So B-I-R-T, not B-R-I-T. Hence why you couldn't find him. So my humblest apologies. Humble apologies, Kaz.
Apology accepted.
Apologies to
I think
John
it was well
Burt
deserved.
and all
You went
Essendon
a bit
fans
hard
out
on me.
there.
Yeah. It's not the first time either.
No. So yes, good little footnote there. It won't happen again.
Moz, who finished on top of the ladder?
Melbourne Football Club with 12 wins, one draw, 5 losses, and 138%.
That's enough.
Let's stop there.
All right, some debutantes.
Oh, hang on. Coached by Norm Smith. Captained by John Beckwith. Best and fairest winner, John Beckwith. And I won't tell you who won
The goal kicking.
All
right. Some debutantes were Bill Byrne, Peter Benchley, Ian Thorogood, and Jeff Turnbridge, who
Tunbridge, yeah.
Okay. Insisted on playing as an amateur. He, it's the Melbourne way.
It is the Melbourne way.
The only accepted payment he would accept was to cover his petrol on his way home to Ballarat, because he was from Ballarat. And remember, they lost a wealth of experience from the previous season. McMahon, Melville, Stuart Spencer, Jeff McGivern, Ralph Lane, and Dennis Cordner.
Yeah. So we're talking...
Huge.
Yeah. I think two captains of the club there.
They're best and fairest.
Yep.
Well, McMahon was their captain, Melville vice-captain, Stuart Spencer...
Cordner had been captain at one stage,
yes,
hadn't he?
you're right, yeah. So they used 27 players the previous season. This season they used 36, including 13 debutants.
Yeah, so trying to fill those spots.
So this was the year,
tricky.
if you're going to pick off Melbourne, this is the year to do it.
This was it.
Hawthorn licked their lips.
And
there were chinks
Captain
in the
Coach
armour.
Beckwith and Barassi, the youngest leadership team in the league, 24 and 21 respectively. Round 1, things didn't get off to a good start though. They lost to Fitzroy by 3 points. First time in a while the reigning premiers lost their opening game.
Yeah.
Round 2, they responded to this shock loss by introducing 4 first gamers, making their debut in a hard slog of a match against the Pies. These went into this game with a 17-point lead in the last quarter and had to withstand a bit of a comeback, and the Pies got within 2 points before the D's, emerged with victory. Yeah. And then smashed the up-and-coming Bombers by 45. Stumbled to the Hawks at Glenferrie, kicking just 4 goals 9 for that match. Then big wins against South and St Kilda. But people weren't convinced that they were premiership material.
No.
This increased with a loss then to Richmond.
Well, there were whispers even before the season started. They're saying this is
turnover.
They've kind of done their dash.
Yeah. Johnson, Ridley and Dixon helped seal a win over Carlton, kicking off a 5-win streak with wins over Geelong North, the Doggies and the Lions. Round 13, we talked about that battle with the Magpies, tight all day. Pies took a 10-point lead in the last quarter, only for Ian Ridley to snap a goal from the pack in the dying seconds to earn a draw. And the final siren sparked a melee involving fans, players and police. Don Williams and Ron Barassi were knocked to the ground, and trainer Les Green was also attacked, and the umpire was pelted with rubbish. Well done, Collingwood supporters. Then they had that controversial win over Essendon as well. I mean, what is Melbourne doing?
So,
Stan Booth was pinged for deliberate out of bounds, and Athol Webb got the ball when it probably should have gone to the closest player in Jeff Tunbridge.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those situations.
Maybe that's the controversial part.
Yeah.
No, there was chat.
Sorry.
So there was chat about the fact that the umpire who was it? I can't remember who the umpire was. Do you have it there? Schwab. It was Peter Schwab's father, Cameron Schwab's grandfather. Was the umpire.
Rigged.
Apparently was quite close to the Melbourne bench, and Norm was
Okay.
really screaming for it.
Yeah.
So they think that he could have been pushed to giving it. But it was there. It was there. I saw it, I swear.
Apparently Webb as well crept in a bit when the umpire wasn't looking to open the angle, slotted the miracle goal, won the game.
Oh my
He was good at sneaking them through.
Then the Hawks handed them their first loss at the MCG in 2 years. They bounced back to win in horrible conditions over St Kilda in that game where there was a massive brawl at the end. Demons held the Saints to 1-5 for the game. Then a loss to South Melbourne by 4 points meant that they were not assured of a top spot finish and had to make sure to account for Richmond in the final round. The Tigers stayed with them in the first half through speed and aggression, but a handy early lead kept the Demons in front long enough to run the visitors off their legs. They managed to kick straight for a change with 12 goals 18, which was Melbourne's equal highest score against the Tigers in 17 years and their biggest win since 1927 over the Tigers.
I've been
There
looking
you
forward
go.
to hearing about this. I know it is Melbourne, but how a team stays up for so long.
Well, this is the same conversation, a year earlier, but the same conversation we were having with the machine. It's like, how do you do it?
How do you keep it
And
going?
this year, a bit of luck, a bit of this and that.
Yeah.
They had such a mix. These had such a mix of youth and experience, though, as well.
Yeah.
Now that experience is gone, the youth now had that experience.
And that was it. It's like
Yeah.
you fit in where you need to fit in.
Yeah.
They find a spot. Yeah.
The D's final record of 12 wins, 1 draw, 5 losses is the worst record by a minor premier in the 87 seasons that comprise of at least 18 games.
I was going to say, because there were a lot of teams who did quite poorly, and then like a reasonably strong middle, which means they didn't need to do that much to finish on top.
Yeah.
12 wins is,
Leading goal kicker?
The lead goal kicker for us was Athel Webb with 56,
Yeah. That gets us to the top of the ladder.
which was us.
Yeah. Moz, Brownlow Downlow.
Brownlow Downlow. Okay, so this year Brian Gleeson won the Brownlow. He was picked in 1953, I think from a Ballarat team. Unsure, need to fact check that. Picked in 1953 and St Kilda plucked him. He then improved greatly over those 3 or 4 years until this year he was an absolute weapon. Like previous Brownlow winner Roy Wright, Gleeson played mainly in the ruck, but with some games as a centre-half forward. He was 6'2", and he had outstanding stamina and speed. He played 15 games this season. He was injured in 3 of them. He was injured in 3 and missed them. And he polled in 10 of those 15 games that he played. Best on ground in 6 of the 10 that he played.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
6 of the
strong.
10 that he polled in.
Yeah.
He finished this season with 24 Brownlow votes. Roy Wright finished on 20 and Carlton's Johnny James on 19 votes. Gleeson and Wright had a particularly exciting battle of the rucks this season when Richmond took on St Kilda. In that game, Gleeson got 3 votes and Wright got 2, but it was a real fight to the finish to see who would get the votes. Gleeson remembers that nearing the end of the game, he had a pretty heavy fall, and Wright helped him up, saying, "I wouldn't like anything to happen to you at this stage." Wright later said that he got in trouble for helping his rival up. John James, who finished on 19 votes, was Brian Gleeson's footy captain when they were at school.
Oh.
Yeah. And now, Gleeson was named St Kilda captain at the end of this season because he was so wonderful and he was also a very respected member of the team. But very unfortunately, in the first practice game of the 1958 season, a rookie injured Gleeson's knee, and although he tried to come back, he was never able to play footy again. Yeah, so that was it. He was 22.
22?
22 years old.
Come on.
Jeez, imagine.
Heartbreaking.
And Moz, do you have a...
that was good.
Yeah, that's
a good one.
really interesting. Do you have a Bunton medal winner for us?
I do, and the Bunton medal winner was Roy Wright from Richmond.
Right. And Charlie, Night Series.
The night series happened again.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Successful last season.
Successful. Yeah, apparently due to the perceived popularity. I'm not
Okay.
sure why the word perceived is in there. Interesting. But yes, due to the popularity of the 1956 season, all 12 clubs played in this one. So not just the ones who missed out on finals.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a one-sided dividend sharing arrangement. It meant that the Night Series clubs actually received more money than those competing in the VFL finals. So here was the example. So a bottom 8 club that lost their opening round match in the 56 competition banked around £700, with the winning club making as much as £2,000. So it was considerably
That's why they all
more
joined.
than the top 4 that had to divide their finals takings among all 12 clubs.
Yeah.
So that, interesting. The 57 series was marred by bad weather, with 2 matches having to be abandoned. Only an average of 16,000 spectators attending each of the 11 matches that were played. They competed for the KG Luke Trophy, valued at £75 and donated by VFL President Kenneth Luke, so he's named the trophy after himself.
Yeah.
in a great show of humbleness. And the winning team received a £200 cash prize. So the final, the grand final, was South versus Geelong, and South managed to win it again, defeating Geelong's 8-4-52 to their 15-13 103. Played at the Lakeside Oval again. I wonder whether that's why they managed to get the job done.
Yeah, that would make sense, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the last time for quite a while that all teams will be involved.
Yes.
I mean, Essendon and Melbourne skipped the first... I think Essendon came in at like the preliminary final round as well.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Because they were playing a grand final, so they couldn't play another series.
Yeah, of course.
So a bit of a joke, but...
Well, and also, if you going for the flag, like, why would you even be bothering? You'd be playing your reserves almost, wouldn't you?
19s. Finals!
Finals.
All right. You going to play that final song we got, Kaz?
Yep.
So in August, learning from the success of the Olympic Games and in order to counter the problems of overnight queues outside the MCG, the VFL sell reserve tickets through the mail for the finals series for the first time, which would also greatly assist country people who could now book seats and accommodation well in advance.
Yes, and not
Lovely.
be thinking, well, I'm going to go and line up, and if I don't get a seat, I'm just stuck in the city.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, the Demons were the only finalists from 56 to make the finals in 57. Mm-hmm. So, let's start with the semi-final.
So the very first semi-final, Hawthorn versus Carlton. Attendance 69,455 people at the MCG.
Yes, and there's actually footage of this game as well, which we might narrate over. So Hawthorn started well, Charlie, kicking 5 goals to 0 in the first quarter.
What?
The Blues had missed 3 sitters in the first quarter, and although they evened the game up, they could not claw back any of the lead by half-time. A huge storm at the major break played into Hawthorn's hands. Carlton was trying hard to peg back the lead on a saturated oval.
What are you going to do?
Captains Kennedy and Kenny Hand had to virtually coerce their sides back onto the ground, and the surface had become a quagmire. After kicking 2 goals in the third, the Blues supporters' hopes were raised, but the team couldn't make it any further back. And the Hawks went on to win by 23 points. It's also no surprise that Carlton fell, knowing that Hands and Francis were feuding.
Yeah. So basically, Hawthorn held on to their quarter-time lead the entire game.
Yeah.
Final scores being Hawthorn's 10-11, 71, far too much for Carlton's 6-12, 48. So the second semi, Melbourne versus Essendon.
Correct. MCG, my team versus your team. Yeah.
This game right here. This game right here. So, yeah, the next week. Yeah, his shoulders are getting back.
Oh, and that's it.
Oh,
What's he
what's
doing?
he doing?
What's he doing?
Keep talking.
Oh, on the 7th of September, we had at a 2:30 start, as usual, in front of 70,232 people. Ooh. Melbourne came out against
A mighty Bombers. Look at this score. All right.
No, they weren't.
Footage available for this as well, so let's have a quick look as we talk
Let's
about
not.
it.
Yeah.
Having been beaten and battered by the Demons in recent times, the Bombers were primed to take it up to the D's this time. Sick of it. Especially that last game where they bloody robbed us. Essendon surprised Melbourne with their courage early. Back pocket Bob Sutter really showed this early, like dashing in 3 times to take marks in contests. It was a very even first quarter, Kaz. But in that second quarter, the Bombers just unleashed. They kicked 9 goals, 3 to take control of this game. Very similar to the third quarter of the 1946 Grand Final where we smashed the Demons as well. Jack Clark was on top in the centre. Hutchie and Britt were dominating as Rovers.
They're already thinking about the Grand Final.
Just enjoy this. Just enjoy it.
In an effort to rally the troops, John Beckwith in the rooms at halftime climbed on top of the locker bench and led a rendition of the Grand Old Flag.
Flag.
A sing-along with the losing team. They threw pillows at it. They had a bit of a pillow fight as well. And really cut the tension and went out and actually reshuffled things and gave them a new lease on life. They cut the gap to 4 goals at 3-quarter time. With 10 minutes left in the game, they were only 10 points down and could have snatched an unlikely win, but Bombers were pretty good. We had tough, tight defence.
We wasted a few shots in front of goal in the last
bad kicking
quarter.
cost you. 8 goals, 19. Another 8 shots which failed to register a score, and you hit the post 4 times.
Yeah, killer.
But the Bombers, yeah. Story's the Bombers just taking it up to these bloody D's after.
Well, that's it. Complacent Demons.
And probably, as we were saying earlier, Charlie, the best thing that could have happened to Melbourne.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
I still say you're a bit lucky.
So the prelim, Melbourne versus Hawthorn.
Yeah.
Melbourne, just...
Before we do that, it was the only semi-final
Semi-final.
D's would ever lose under Norm Smith
That's
as well.
right,
So-
yes, exactly. After, I think they went to 12... No, less than that.
Okay.
It was a lot, and it was the only one they lost.
Yeah.
So Melbourne, hadn't been in a prelim in a little while. Hadn't had to do that.
No.
Had the break.
Against Hawthorn of all things.
Against Hawthorn, exactly. So in front of 74,090 people, Melbourne and Hawthorn, what happened?
Look,
It was a
There was a massacre.
Drubbing.
The Demons kicked with a strong wind in the first term, but were restricted to 4 goals, the first taking 18 minutes to come as well. And just as it looked like the Hawks would take advantage of Melbourne, they booted 7 goals into the wind in the second quarter to take control of the game. Melbourne were a far superior outfit, well-planned, executed game plan that included spreading Hawthorn's defence and tagging their stars Graham Arthur and Phil O'Brien. Hawthorn had their chance with the win, but they ran into a rock-solid defence and only booted 3 of their own goals. Didn't help that John Kennedy broke his hand early in the game. The second quarter onslaught really did them over. Melbourne kicked 9 unanswered goals between the second and third quarters. The final margin was 69 points. The Hawks rued their lack of match preparation and tactical planning. The loss affected the players badly, and finished the season realising how far away they actually were from real success. We thought we could play football until that day, Graham Arthur would later say. We came away realising we still had a long way to go and a lot more to do. After the game as well, the Hawks complained to the MCC attendant because he stopped players watching the last of the seconds final. They wanted to know how the turf was, how the ball was bouncing, and the MCC attendant said, no, you go away. Melbourne administrator Bert Chadwick was forced to issue a statement denying that his side had anything to do with this ruling.
So,
bullshit.
Interestingly, earlier in the year, Norm Smith had got footage of a Hawthorn game to try and work out the way they were playing in the middle, because Kennedy was often tapping down to their second ruck, who I'm forgetting the name of at this stage. And that was how they were getting away, getting out of the middle really quickly and cleanly. And so they played to that. It definitely didn't help that Kennedy had broke his hand, but
The damage was done.
he'd thought about how to play that anyway, and they were already playing it quite well.
Oh, wow.
So very interesting,
Very
that.
tactical.
All right, which gets us to the grandest of finals.
Yes,
the grand final.
absolute grandest.
Essendon versus Melbourne, MCG.
Yes,
A crowd of
100,324 people.
now we usually this time we crack out the way back when machine.
Yeah, how
and
are we
we
gonna
talk.
do that now?
Well, good question, Kaz. Now the way back when machine, look, it was this big clunky old thing we used to have, Miles. I don't think you ever saw it.
No.
But we've got it reduced just down to a nice app now.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So
Everything comes in app form.
Yeah, we're gonna boot up this app, and we're gonna speak to John Beckwith, just fresh out for this game in 1957.
Alrighty, let's give him a call.
Is it working?
Is that John? Yes. Hey, John. 3rd year in a row for the Mighty D's. What a treat to be talking to you today.
How does it feel to equal the great record of your coach's playing days with another 3 flags in a row?
A wonderful experience, really. Probably the highlight of my career.
Some people had written you guys off before the season had started with a huge exodus of great players. Tell us, how were you feeling internally?
In '56 we won the premiership, and we had probably one of the best teams that ever played, and all of a sudden we lose 6 top players. And we had to sort of start again, and no one expected really.
How did you cover those huge losses, though, John?
But when you look at who came in, that was the thing that made the difference. Jeff Tunbridge, a 25-year-old who coached up at Ballarat. He drove down, he got a car allowance, I think, or that, or a drinking allowance, one or the other. And he proved a revelation, really, on the half-forward flank.
And obviously with Noel retiring, the captaincy was up for grabs. Before you found out, what did you think about your chances?
I never really thought much about it, but the previous year I was runner-up in the best and fairest to Stewie Spencer, and I lost by half a vote. And they'd promised Spencer a clearance if he played that year to go to Tassie, so in some way I suppose I was the favourite, but I never really thought much about it, you know.
You both seem to thrive on that role as well. You getting the BNF and Ron getting runner-up.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And I think I finished about 4th in the Brownlow. The 2 years, 56 and 57, so I had a good period. But, you know, we were new chums to the game, but it didn't matter. We had such a good side in the end.
Now, tell us about the start of the year. it was a bit stuttered, coming out 4-3 and losing to a young Fitzroy in the season opener.
So we didn't start well in 57. We lost the first game and we struggled to play, reasonable football, and then all of a sudden it sort of clicked.
You figured it out against Carlton, though, and won 5 in a row.
We struggled to play, reasonable football, and then all of a sudden it sort of clicked.
Now, one thing we feel like we have to mention was that incredible goal from the boundary of Webbs against Essendon. Tell us, do you think the free was there?
Do we need to ask him that?
Yes.
Well, prior to that, I'd kicked a couple of balls pretty close to the boundary, and the Essendon crowd had got very vocal about the free kicks, and the umpire was Frank Schwab, who happened to be my best man at my level. And he was umpiring, and I'd kicked a couple close to the boundary, and the crowd went mad. But right at the very end, this little rover bloke, Essendon bloke, I can't think of his name, Stan Booth, that's right. And he picked up the ball, and the goals are here, and the stand's here, and he'd run straight at the stand and kicked it up into the stand. I mean, it was the most blatant, stupid thing. And the other part of the story was that it wasn't really Athol Webb's kick because someone was closer. Anyway, Webby kicked the goal. The crowd went mad. The police on horses came out. They surrounded the umpire. It was almost a riot, really. We got off the ground very quickly. And I saw Frank on the Monday at work, and he said I was in the umpire's room for 5 hours.
Whatever. So, taking us into the finals, what do you think caused the shock loss to Essendon in the semi?
The second semi-final against Essendon, we were red-hot favourites, and they came out and killed us. They kicked 10 goals 6 to 2 goals 6 at half-time. And everyone's looking at one another saying, what the hell's going on? A towel fight in the rooms at half-time. That was another thing that was featured. We started to get a bit silly because we were going so bad. And we nearly pulled the game off it. We didn't quite make it. But that was a hell of a shock.
Oh, thanks for the honesty, John. So then you guys put Hawthorn to the sword, but you came out a bit sore. Tell us, what happened?
We had to play Hawthorn, and that was I think the first time they'd been in the they started off at a great rate. We had the wind, and they kicked more goals than us at the quarter time. And everyone's thinking, geez, if they got the wind, we're going to be in trouble. Anyway, we had a marvellous second quarter, and we finished up 3 or 4 goals in front at half time. So that we turned it around from there. We went on and won the game well. That was the thing that I still remember. I tore a groin muscle. I'd never had one before, didn't know what the hell was going on, could hardly walk, and I had treatment every day for the whole week. But by the time Thursday come, I could just barely jog. And they said, well, come down early and try yourself out and hide yourself from the press, which I did. And so we had the selection committee and they meeting, and they said, well, look, if you pull out, it's going to be big news. So they said, well, Smithy said, well, have a trial on Saturday morning down the South Melbourne ground at 10 o'clock.
At Lakeside Oval?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
10 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So, and Bluey Adams had a calf muscle, and we go down there and put on our gear, and there's only a couple of selectors there and Smithy, and we're trying to run up and down, and Bluey faked it pretty well, but I had strapping, and the doctor said, look, the strapping's not helping, and I stretched out a bit, but the doctor said, look, I'll give you a needle before the game and half time, and you'll be right, you'll be right. Anyway, I got to the game and had the needle, and somehow it got through. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I couldn't walk for 6 weeks after it. I could hardly walk.
Did Norm give you any advice in the lead-up?
His only words to me were play it tight.
Now, the game itself seemed done from almost the start, with Barassi kicking that extraordinary goal in the first 20 seconds.
Yes, he did.
Tell us about that. How did that feel on the ground?
We had the ball up the forward line. Johnny Lord played a wonderful game, and he wanted to come off at half time, actually, Lord. We convinced him to he should play on. Things like that happen, and that it was such a decisive win that I was saved the embarrassment of losing a grand final. But yeah, once we got going and we just dominated the first 20 minutes, and that was it. We realised we had a winning lead. We were playing well, and we kicked 17 goals, I think. I was able to sit back, and I think there was some story on the bench that get Becky off the ground because he's injured, and they said, "Oh no, leave him on to enjoy it."
So on that note, John, who do you think was best on field?
So and then Brassie kicked 3 goals in the first quarter, and we kicked 6-1. Yeah, just best. And he kicked 5 for the match, best on the ground. Ian really kicked 4, and Athelweed kicked 3.
We thought that you would say that we just had to check. Sorry. And now, anyway, silliness aside, now Percy Beams has said that if you could win it this year in the most vulnerable year, then there's no telling how many flags you could win. Is that the feeling inside the club?
Well, I don't know about it was quite that easy, but I've always said right through the watching football that injuries play a big part.
Well, mate, as a D supporter, that's an attitude I absolutely love to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Johnny, and congratulations again.
Well done.
Thank you. I better go.
Fine. Great. All right, here's some stats from that game as well.
That is a good ad.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's so much easier than the big clunky box we used to have to lug around with us.
Look, it's worth the $5.99 you got to
It
pay
is,
on the
yeah.
App
Put
Store.
that box up on eBay and put it towards the proceeds of the podcast.
Maybe. So, final score. Essendon 7 goals, 13-55.
To Melbourne's 17-14, 116.
Great. Goals
So
were...
what's double 55? It's 110, right? So we more than doubled. Is that the maths there? Is it more than double the Essendon score? Yeah, great.
Goals as well. Let's do it like this. You can do Melbourne.
Yeah. Barassi kicked 5, Ridley with 4, Webb with 3, Johnson with 2, Tunbridge with 2, and Case with 1.
And for the Bombers, Gallagher 3, John Britt 1, Clark, Gill, and Hebbert also kicked 1. Melbourne's best were Rob Barassi.
Yeah, Bob Johnson, Dick Fenton-Smith, the young man, John Lord, who got that rev up at half-time, Ian Ridley, and Brian Wilson.
It's the one that got away to him, really, isn't it?
No, the 48's the one that got away.
Yeah, isn't it?
Finals notes. Alan Nash became the last umpire to officiate all games of the final series.
Oh.
The free kick count in the grand final was 28-12 Essendon's way, and we still got slaughtered.
It's always been the way. We talked about this, in 1919.
Yeah.
Our Melbourne, we never get the freeze. It's still the way.
Melbourne, the first and only club to win 3 successive flags twice, with Norm the only man to be part of 2 three-peats.
And the games tally was exactly the same in 39, 40, 41. So it was like 49 wins, 12 losses, both times in those 3 years.
Yep.
Incredible.
Other winners this year, we had St Kilda defeating South in the under-19s, 55-47. North defeating Fitzroy by 4 points in the reserves. So some teams you don't really see it doing stuff in the seniors. And the Mighty Bombers taking home the McClellan Trophy.
Oh, fantastic.
So we get something.
Yeah, but I reckon the McClellan should get a little bit more recognition.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Good organisation.
All right, do we want to go through some retirees or wrap up?
Yes.
All right, here we go. This is the big one. This is the big list, actually. Can you play some quiet, subtle recorder for me while I go through these players?
No.
All right. Bill Hutchinson of Essendon. 290 games, 496 goals, 2 Brownlows, 4 flags.
Not bad.
Bill Stephen, Fitzroy's captain coach, 162 games, 4 goals. Keith Drinnan for St Kilda, 135 games. Ken Mulhull of St Kilda, 134 games, 81 goals. Ken Hands
Yes.
He's retiring, so that's falling out. He's gone.
So that's three great captains retiring in 1 year.
Yep.
Yeah.
211 games, 188 goals, 2 flags. Len Crane of Hawthorn, 145 games, 2 goals. Des Rowe, Richmond. There's another Brownlow medalist. Did he win Desi Rowe?
Yeah.
No.
Didn't he draw one? No.
No, I'm thinking of someone else. 175 games, 24 goals. Jack Mills of Carlton, 124 games, 128 goals. Cardboard Box of Footscray, Peter Box, 107 games, 43 goals, 1 flag, 1 Brownlow. Jack Hamilton of Collingwood, 154 games, 16 goals. We'll talk much more about him when we get into the administration side. Havel Rowe of Richmond, 124 games, 43 goals. Peter Pianto,
Oh, no.
121 games, 144 goals, 2 flags. Norm Johnson, Travis Johnson's grandfather, I believe.
There we go.
228 games, 185 goals. Jock Spencer, 153 games, 475 goals. And Harvey Stevens of Footscray, 126 games, 127 goals. And also note that former Demons captain Dr. McClellan died in, I think it was June of 1957 as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Bill McClellan died this year.
Dr. Bill McClellan, yeah.
Wow.
So much going on.
I know. So let's wrap it up then. This live video episode that we've been doing.
Yes.
Premiers.
The Mighty
Mighty
D's.
D's.
3rd in a row.
Brownlow medalist.
Brian Gleeson.
Brian Gleeson. We just have this little Brownlow medal here.
Oh, yeah.
cute.
Tingles.
The Coleman medalist.
Cole.
Not Cole. Coleman medalist was Jack Collins.
Jack Collins with
74 goals.
74, yes.
Interesting fun fact, Jack Collins is the only player to have been awarded the leading goal kicker of the league and the Coleman medal because he won before Coleman died or retired and then after once they renamed it.
Oh, okay.
He had been a leading advocate for naming the award after Coleman, honouring leading goal kickers prior to 1981, and the only player to receive both. Upon receiving the goal-kicking medal, he was bloody angry and complained to the AFL Commission as he perceived the leading goal-kicker medal to be inferior.
To the Coleman, really?
Wooden spoon.
The mighty Geelong Cats.
Yes,
The mighty
Their
Geelong
fourth
Cats.
wooden spoon. Highest score was the Demons, 24 goals, 14, 158. Here are the premiership tallies, something we haven't done for a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, I like these.
Collingwood with 12, Essendon with 10, Melbourne with 9, Carlton 8, Fitzroy 8, Geelong 5, Richmond 5, South 3, Footscray 1.
St Kilda, none.
Correct. North Melbourne, none. Hawthorn, none. McCracken Award. Here's the big one, Kaz. This is what everyone
Right.
tuned in to see. Here's your options. Doug Long, Ray Harrop,
This is gonna be
Bruno
easy one.
Zorzi, Alan Chip, Brian Barclay, Phil Rauchow, Ray Slocum, Brian Forkhead, Percy Appleyard, Colin Colquhoun, Eric the Tank Guy, Ivor Whitnish, Brian Pilcher, John Quarrell, Terry Ingersoll, Cyril Collard, Frank Driscoll, Bill Bryan, and Ian Thorogood.
Like you said, you say it with a Scottish accent.
Alright,
Forkhead.
Forkhead.
How can you possibly
can't.
go past
Yeah.
the tank guy? If you could almost be you guys. So I don't know.
If you want to start calling me the Tank, that's alright with me.
Forkhead.
Forkhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
We've had fun with
Gotta
that, haven't
be.
we? Alright.
And we'll continue to, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gets us to the end of our 1957 televised special. So if you're listening to this on as a podcast, you can watch it as well. Again,
Imagine.
does this mean we're going to be filming all our episodes?
Absolutely not.
Not at all.
No.
This is a special one-off for now. We've got some other ideas up our sleeves that we might.
Yes. We might take
do.
this show on the road.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We've got a few plans, but we won't be televising all of them. But we'll have some ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it.
If you liked it, let us know.
Yeah.
If
I'd
you
like to know that
didn't, please don't, because we're very fragile. No,
one. You can let me know.
we can't take it.
Slip in slowly. In the next podcast meeting.
Yes. All right. So thank you for tuning in on YouTube or podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. 57, here we come. So 58.
Oh, the centenary. 100 years of
Yes.
football.
Oh, yes.
Melbourne going for 4 in a row.
Can they do it? Can they
I don't know. I'm so
do
nervous.
it? Yeah,
Can they?
They're
no,
good.
me too.
What can I say?
Bombers will come back, surely.
It's going to happen.
Let's tune in now as we say goodbye to Big Red.
Oh, sorry. I was going to do a Red theme song.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so until 58, hooroo.
Big Red's local footy roundup, or your state and suburban football action, sinking our teeth into grassroots football.
G'day Kick Team, Big Red here, on location, out in the country. Bush football, that's where it's at. This jumper here reminds me of circa 2002. Sandringham Dragons, Big Red playing with the likes of Chris Judd, Luke Ball, Lee Fisher, who is now a AFL umpire. The other two, the names you will know. Anyway, let's get into the roundup for the 1957 football from around this great country. First, we take a look at the SANFL, where in the 78th season of football, we have Port Adelaide claiming their 27th minor premiership and their 18th premiership overall, in a glorious run that has seen them grab hold of the last 4 premierships in that SANFL football. The grand final this year was played at the Adelaide Oval in front of 60,000 fans, and they were treated to an encounter between Port and their fellow grand finalist Norwood. Norwood led the game at every change, but were overrun in the final quarter for the final scores being 15-15 105 to 13-16 94. The Ken Farmer Award for the SANFL leading goal kicker was won by Peter Phillips from West Adelaide with 90 goals for the season. The McGarry Medal in the 1957 season of football was tied and shared between Ron Benton of West Adelaide and Jim Dean of South Adelaide. Benton was a 180-game player with West Adelaide. That included also his induction into West Adelaide's Hall of Fame. Dean won 2 McGarry medals in his time, which covered a 157-game career with South Adelaide. Dean also played 50 games for Richmond in the VFL. After his professional career, or after his top-level career, he went off and played in the Ovens and Murray, where he also won 2 further league medals. Over in the Waffle, where they head into their 73rd season of football, and we have East Fremantle coming from behind in the grand final to claim their first flag in over 10 seasons in a win over the minor Premier East Perth. 40,000 fans were witness to the game and saw the final scores of 10-18-78 to 9-8-62. It was in the third quarter that East Fremantle broke away with 13 scoring shots and 5 of those being goals to bring the game close at three-quarter time. The third quarter momentum carried it through into the fourth quarter, and they broke away to a 16-point victory. Our leading Waffle goal kicker for the season, soon to be named Bernie Naylor Medal for the season, it was Don Glass from Subiaco with 83 goals for that season. The Sandover Medal was shared in 1957 as well between Jack Clark of East Fremantle and Graham Polly Farmer of East Perth, both tying on 19 votes. Jack was a ruckman and a 200-game player with East Fremantle, and had a decorated career that included 28 state games. This season's premiership with East Fremantle, he captained and coached the side at various times, had multiple best and fairest, was a state captain, All-Australian on multiple occasions, Western Australian Hall of Fame inductee, and AFL Hall of Fame inductee. Polly Farmer is a name that all of us will know very well. The man has done almost everything possible in football. 5 Waffle premierships, 1 VFL premiership, 3 Sandover medals, a total of 10 club best and fairest across 19 seasons, 3-time All-Australian, East Perth Team of the Century, Geelong Team of the Century, West Perth Team of the Century, Hall of Fame legend, AFL Team of the Century, Western Australian Team of the Century, and Indigenous Team of the Century. Absolutely remarkable. We could possibly run a whole nother podcast on Graham Polly Farmer, and may he rest in peace. Over the VFA, and in the 76th year of competition, the premiership was won by Moorabbin for their first premiership in their first short stint in the competition. Moorabbin joined the VFA from the Federal League in 1951 after a successful run and 12 premierships in that competition. They entered the VFA with a strong team and tasted some finals through those early 50s, but really led strongly for the first time through that 1957 season. The grand final was played between Moorabbin and Port Melbourne at the St Kilda Cricket Ground in front of 26,000 fans. The scores for the game were somewhat one-sided, with Moorabbin pushing steadily ahead for the entire game. The final scores for that game were 15-12 102 to 7-20 62. With inaccurate kicking letting the Port side down, the major loser for that season was actually the Williamstown Football Club, who were actually undefeated for the entire home and away season, but went on to lose their 2 finals games, losing to both of the grand finalists in those appearances. It was a sad end to their 3 consecutive premiership run at that stage, and frustratingly for Williamstown, beyond this 1957 season, they will go on to win the next 3 premierships after this as well. So had they won the 1957 premiership, they could have gone for 7 premierships in a row. Remarkable. However, they went for 3, break, and 3. Still very good 7-season run for that Williamstown side. The association leading goal kicker was won by, for the 2nd consecutive season, by Bob Bennett from Port Melbourne, who kicked 88 goals for the season. The J. Liston medal in that 1957 season was won by Ken Ross from Camberwell. Ross played 127 games for Fitzroy in the VFL in a 4-year stint, and then off across to the VFA for Camberwell. They entered the VFA with a strong team and tasted some finals through those early 50s, but really led strongly for the first time through that 1957 season. The grand final was played between Moorabbin and Port Melbourne at the St Kilda Cricket Ground in front of 26,000 fans. The scores for the game were somewhat one-sided, with Moorabbin pushing steadily ahead for the entire game. The final scores for that game were 15-12-102 to 7-20-62. With inaccurate kicking letting the Port side down, the major loser for that season was actually the Williamstown Football Club, who were actually undefeated for the entire home and away season, but went on to lose their 2 finals games, losing to both of the grand finalists in those appearances. It was a sad end to their 3 consecutive premiership run at that stage, and frustratingly for Williamstown, beyond this 1957 season, they will go on to win the next 3 premierships after this as well. So had they won the 1957 premiership, they could have gone for 7 premierships in a row. Remarkable. However, they went for 3, break, and 3. Still very good 7-season run for that Williamstown side. The association leading goal kicker was won by, for the 2nd consecutive season, by Bob Bennett from Port Melbourne, who kicked 88 goals for the season. The J. Liston medal in that 1957 season was won by Ken Ross from Camberwell. Ross played 127 games for Fitzroy in the VFL in a 4-year stint, and then off across to the VFA for Camberwell from that 1956 season. Over into the VAFA, and we have Collegians have easily beaten Uni Blacks, and in Queensland, Sandgate have beaten Peru to go back to back. And finally, in 1957, a little known player by the name of Darryl Bulldog won the Wander medal, which is the league best and fairest award in that Northern Tasmanian Football League. For the first of 3 times, as a matter of fact, in 1957, Darryl Bulldog was one of the first of 3 league medals down in Tasmania. He was playing with East Devonport at the time, and as many of you know, Bulldog would become a premiership hero with St Kilda in 1966. So look forward to hearing from Timmy G, the Casman, Coops, and Anna Morris about that in future episodes. And with that, we wrap up the 1957 season of football from around this great country. Until next time, kick straight.
To find out more about the Kick to Kick team and the sources we use, visit our website www.kicktokickpodcast.com. You can contact us via email at kicktokickpodcast@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram under @KickToKickPod. Thanks so much for listening.